Voting in Papua New Guinea's general election is due to start today. Polls will be opening this morning in the country's volatile highlands region and then continue around the country for the next 2 weeks. In an effort to prevent electoral fraud and election-related violence, there's a huge police and defence force presence. Stephen Howes is the Director of the Development Policy Centre at the ANU and a board member on the Pacific Institute of Public Policy, and he joins us now live from Canberra. Good morning, Stephen Howes. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Weekend Breakfast this morning.
Good morning.
Now, Papua New Guinea is a nation that's been troubled by a lot of political turmoil, particularly in terms of the leadership issue, where we've had Sir Michael Somare and Peter O'Neill both claiming to be the rightful Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. How do you think that this current electoral process will feed into resolving that issue?
All elections are important, but this election is particularly important for two reasons. One, as you mentioned, there has been this political instability, and it's really, developed into a constitutional impasse with a conflict between the Parliament on the one hand and the judiciary on the other, and with the army and the police sort of in the wings. And the hope has got to be that with the elections and with a new mandate for a new Prime Minister, that will resolve this constitutional crisis, and that bygones will be bygones, and that PNG will be able to move into a new period and get away from the paralysis and the conflict that it's been subject to in the last 6 months to a year. But I guess even beyond that, and even without that, these elections would be extremely important because PNG, like Australia, is in the midst of a resource boom. And that has generated it's already generated a lot more revenue for government. Government revenue has more than doubled in the last 5 years. And further revenues on its way with this big LNG project now under construction. That's partly why there's so much interest within PNG in these elections, but it's also crucial for the country that it's able to form a stable and competent and good government so that it can convert these new resources into benefits for the people.
Now, Stephen Howes, obviously the electoral process in Papua New Guinea, as I understand it, is quite an involved process. There are some 3,500 candidates battling over 100 parliamentary seats. How is the electoral process going to unfold? Do you have any expectations in terms of, concerns around, possible outbreaks of violence, for instance?
I think the first thing is just, we shouldn't think, well, the elections are today, so we're going to get the results tomorrow, and there'll be a new government on Monday. The elections themselves take place over a 2-week period, just because of the dispersion of the PNG population over hundreds of islands and with many people living in mountainous areas without road connection. So they move the election around over a period of 2 weeks. Then it will take at least another 2 weeks to count the votes with so many candidates and lots of scrutineers involved. So that's taking us towards the end of July. And then it could take another few weeks to actually form a government because with so many candidates and with some 40 political parties, no party is going to come anywhere close to getting a majority. And so there'll be a lot of horse trading after that. So it's probably not going to be until August that we'll see a new government. In the meantime, as you mentioned, there has already been violence. I think there have been some 20 election-related deaths already reported. Unfortunately, there'll probably be more. But PNG has put out a big police presence, a big army presence. Australia has sent in support. And so the hope's got to be that violence will be contained in the coming weeks.
Stephen Howes, what do you think the role is for Australia in terms of the situation in Papua New Guinea, particularly if there is an escalation of violence and the leadership issue remains in question?
I think Australia is going to, we are PNG's closest neighbour. We're their biggest trading partner. We're their biggest aid donor. There are obviously long cultural and political connections. We used to be the colonial power in PNG, so we are closely involved in whatever happens in PNG. We can't and we shouldn't try to control political outcomes there, but we will be, whatever the outcomes are, will have clear implications for us. If things go badly, if the instability is not resolved, if local conflict becomes more generalised, there's no doubt we'll be caught in one way or another to help, whether it's through more aid or even in an extreme situation through some sort of intervention via the police or even the military. If things go well, if there's a stable government, then again that will have implications for us. PNG is becoming a more important trading partner for Australia. More and more Australian mining companies are looking to PNG, and we're going to see more members of the emerging PNG middle class looking to Australia as somewhere where they want to send their kids to school, somewhere where they want a holiday, somewhere where they want to come and see the rugby. And so there are important bilateral issues the two governments need to resolve. There's talk of a new trade agreement. There's a lot of complaints from PNG. It's very hard to get a visa to come to Australia. So there are some important bilateral issues the two governments need to attend to. So if there's a stable, functioning government in PNG, I hope it'll be down to business on those issues.
Stephen Howes, thank you so much for joining us on Weekend Breakfast.
Okay, it's a pleasure.